Hey guys, well, yeah, thanks to Maxon for having me here in Amsterdam. Actually, it's pretty impressive here. IBC is the first time I'm here. It's pretty big, bit intimidating. Anyway, so I work at a company called Sehsucht, which is a German wordplay. Never mind if you don't get it. No one does. It's very hard to pronounce in English and also in German. But anyway, we do animation and also a little bit of live action, a little bit of everything, really. And, first things first, I wanted to show you our work, so I have a little reel with me for you to look at.
Piercing through the darkest shades of black. In the misty night.
Make it clap.
Thank you. So as you can see, it's a pretty diverse range of everything between car commercials. We do a lot of car stuff and more designy animations, which we like a lot as well. And Sehsucht was founded in 2000 in Hamburg. So it's not a new company. This is how it looks in Hamburg, nice and clean. And I joined 7 years ago when we started an office in Berlin. This is how it looks in Berlin. Pretty much the same, just a little smaller. And in Berlin, we are specifically interested in the more kind of like designy jobs, if you will. Like in Hamburg, we do a lot of XSI. And we've been using cinema for a long time. Like from the very beginning in Hamburg, we've been using cinema. And then because Hamburg moved a bit more towards the VFX pipeline, we now use also Softimage XSI, and that will have to change to Maya, I guess. And in Berlin, we use cinema as well. And when we did that from the beginning, and I was pretty, undecided about that. I hadn't used it before we started at Sehsucht, actually, before I started at Sehsucht. And the reason was that I thought when we started Berlin, I thought eventually, we will have one program everyone uses, and we would just start using that, whether that is Max or XSI or Maya or whatever. But it turned out that in Berlin at the time, at least, every freelancer used a different software. It was a very, very heterogeneous landscape there. Like one used Blender, maybe the other used, I don't know, whatever, Modo, And so Cinema was a very, very good start because it has a very, very easy learning curve. It's super easy to get into that. Like even if you're an illustrator or more like a design person, if you have a TD set up the scene for you, you can basically start animating right away. So because of that and also the history we had with Cinema in Hamburg, we used it, and it turned out to be a really great choice because, now look at the landscape right now, everything is Autodesk. Except Cinema, obviously, and we use Octane render for a lot of our projects. We've been using that for a very long time also. Like when it first got out, like in 2010, I guess, like I bought the first beta for 50 euros in 2010, and ever since we've been using Octane, and that really works really well with Cinema. But also, like this slide tells you, we're interested in real-time graphics. So what does that mean? Well, I mean, if you look at the reel we just showed you, everything is pre-rendered. So that means that the computer had a lot of time to think about each and every image in that reel. And when I say a lot of time, that's anywhere between 5 minutes and a couple of hours to render every frame. There's this great quote of the CEO of, now it doesn't exist anymore, but PDI DreamWorks. He says, the average render time of a frame is always 17 minutes, independent of whether it's 1978 or in this case 2016. The reason being it's just the average. It's just the average time an artist wants to wait for his frame to render. Like that means like artists will just put more and more effects in the scene until it reaches about 20 minutes, and then they will be a bit impatient and just leave it at that. But in real-time environments, you don't have that luxury to be able to wait. You need to deliver a frame in, however many milliseconds you think is fluent. So that means if you look at a game, 30 frames per second, or if you're a hardcore gamer, maybe 60 frames per second. So that's not 5 minutes, but this is the range of milliseconds. So that means you have to optimize your scenes. But anyway, enough of technical talk. I want to show you a project we did for the Pictoplasma conference in Berlin, which is a big character design conference. And we did a little real-time, interactive piece, like for an exposition. And just going to show you, because we can't put it up here. Well, I mean, we could, but we didn't. So I'm just going to show you a little edit so that you know what I'm talking about.
First reaction was like, how does it react on my movements? It raises questions about identity and manipulation of identity. So I think that's quite interesting.
I like the way it is interactive, how you start exploring what you do with your hands and then see how it changes. It's just freaking me out. It's cool.
So I really liked it, to be honest. So my friend thought that you can make music with it, and I thought I can see myself sometime, so it's very cool.
Right. Now, this we did actually for, if you're interested in the technical details, we did in WebGL. We implemented it in WebGL because we did a project for Nike before that where we had a WebGL base, code base we used for this thing. And this is obviously not, commercial project. We did a Kinect to recognize the gestures of the, person playing with it, if you want to call it that. and then it reacts to you. And this leads me, of course, we like, to look into developing and emerging technologies, WebGL being one of them, but also virtual reality. And you have all heard of it. It works with a headset like this here. Oh, shit, no, I don't want to fuck it up, so never mind. Like this here. And anyway, so we bought the first ones available right when they came out. This is us geeking out with the Oculus Rift DK1 and DK2 when it got to us. And, for virtual reality, there are several approaches how you can do it. You can do just 360-degree video, which is what a lot of people mean when they say virtual reality, but really it's kind of like restricted because you want to be able to also interact with your environment, and that means you have to realize it in a real-time environment, which is also, I believe, what those guys are presenting here, or just did. I forgot the name, but you can check it out here, I guess. And that's what we are interested in as well. And we didn't have the chance to really play with it because it's quite a lot of work involved here. And I'm going to show you one project we did in the beginning of the year, which is a music video for Moderat, which is the first kind of like bigger project we did in VR. But before I get into it, let's think about why VR anyway. I mean, everyone is talking about it, but why would we be interested in it anyway? And I don't know if you tried it, but before I tried it on, I was like, well, yeah, it's probably another fad, and it can actually turn out that a year from now, no one's going to be talking about it anymore. But I felt really, it was really impressive. And this is actually one of the first movies I ever made. It's, basically a train entering the station, which is also the name in French, which I'm not going to say now because I suck at French and it's going to sound even worse than my English. So anyway, but the story goes that at the first time people played this movie in a cinema, people were jumping up out of their chairs, right, because they were scared that the train would actually hit them. Well, now we're used to that, and we don't think that anymore, but in VR, we actually have the simulator effect. Yeah, sorry for that guy, but it's really impressive. Like, if you haven't tried it, it's quite something. And this is also why I believe that it's definitely here to stay in some form or another. I'm not exactly sure whether VR as like a tethered version, like basically as a headset with a cable and connected to your gaming PC, will have such a broad audience. I'm not very sure about that. I'm actually doubtful. If you look at the sales figures, there was this very well-known study last year which projected a 1 billion market in the next 5 years. That is very, very positive. That's very optimistic. If you look at the recent sales figures of the Vive and the Oculus, they are flattening out. So they had, in the beginning, they were short in supply, and all the early adopters wanted to get them. And now it seems like everyone who were interested in it got them, and now they're leveling out. So I don't know about that. But I think that in a mobile space, VR is going to be super interesting because everyone has a cell phone. And if you look at the Gear VR headset, which is basically an add-on for your cell phone, or at the Google Cardboard, which is essentially for free, that will be very interesting, especially considering that cell phones are going to get more and more powerful really quickly. Anyway, so back to this. This is also one of the reasons why we might not, be successful because, as it turns out, you look pretty stupid with one of those things on. And actually, I found this great quote, post-virtual reality, after the hype is over, the anatomy of a fad. And this is from a book from 1992, right? So we've been here. And every hype, levels out. And the question is just, how much will stay? And everything this VR is about immersion, right? And this is at the heart of media, in a way, at the heart of storytelling, if you want. It's about immersing yourself in an alternate reality. That's what you want to do. If you read a story, if you read a book, you know, if you watch a TV show, whatever, you want to become part of this new world. And people have been interested in immersion with every new media. For instance, this here is a picture from 1896. This is what it was called at the time, an electric cyclorama. And basically, it's a round building, and they project it's either images or also moving images to have a 360-degree video experience at the location. And this is what I initially said. Also, that's what a lot of people say if they mean VR is 360-degree video. This here is another example from the same period. So this is the late 19th century. This is the very, very beginning of cinema and of moving pictures. They already did that 360-degree video. So this is a hot air balloon, and they mounted a couple of movie projectors at the bottom, and then they flew the balloon over Paris to record, you know, a seamless 360-degree video. All of that, obviously, to achieve some kind of immersion that you're inside of the story. And this here is the first example of what you would call a modern-day VR. Actually, it's rather an AR, so augmented reality, or MR, mixed reality application, because as you can see, the guy wearing the helmet, wearing the headset, can still see his environment, but the virtual, you know, elements are layered on top of his vision. So this is a sort of Damocles, as it was called, because it hangs over your head and threatens to kill you any second. And it is from 1965. So all that stuff is pretty old, if you will. Like and I thought, you know, I just wanted to include that because, you know, VR is such a new thing and everyone's talking about it. So I always feel that it's interesting to give you some sort of perspective, you know, to know that most of the things we talk about are actually just reiterating ideas that have already been around. All right, well now, a reminder, that's the project I was mentioning in the beginning. This is a music video for the Berlin electronic, whatever, band, Moderat. And what I'm going to show you here is what we call linear version of the video. So essentially, it's a YouTube clip showing you the story, but it can't be VR, obviously. Otherwise, I would have to give all of you a headset, which would be difficult. And that's also one of the obvious reasons why VR is a little bit tricky to show it to a bigger audience. So yeah, without further ado, I'm just going to show you the clip. Right. So yeah, that was the video, as we call it in the linear version. So basically, it's the VR version recorded from different camera perspectives and then edited into just one, YouTube clip. And that was what the band wanted also. So when they approached us, they didn't think of VR clip, but they wanted a video, and the idea was that it should look a little bit like a computer game, which, as you can tell, is the case. So that's part of the concept. And we thought, well, if we do it in the style of a computer game, why not go all the way and actually do it in a game engine and actually, have that give us the opportunity to watch it in a VR headset as well. And actually, that's easier than it sounds, unfortunately. We found out the hard way. But yeah, I'm going to share with you some of the challenges we had. And first of all, I'm going to start with the little making-of clip, which also shows you a bit the approach we have for just an animation project, I guess, but specifically a VR project like that, music video.
Erst macht Gernot Terror und dann kommt er nicht. Ey, wo ist denn Gernot? Wir wollten da jetzt mal hier Gas geben.
Ja. Ich habe hier gerade knallhart ein Interview extrem runtergesteppt abgebrochen.
Gernot hat gesagt, wir sollen uns beeilen und jetzt ist er nicht da.
Ja, ich...
Geil wäre, wenn er nicht da wäre und ihr wirklich den Charakter aus dem Video hier hinsetzen könntet. Das
den Bösen?
Ein bisschen anstrengend, oder? Grundidee Idee, ich würde mal sagen, Reminder ist eine Art, ich will es jetzt nicht Protestsong nennen, aber Reminder überarbeitet das Thema, dass man auch, wenn man sozusagen nichts macht, im Grunde, man macht sich auch schuldig.
Die Idee und das Design und generell die ganze Stimmung hat mich einfach vollkommen überrascht. Ich mag, wenn mich Sachen überraschen, ich nicht weiß, wo die herkommen und einfach so einen interessanten Raum erzeugen, mit dem ich nicht gerechnet habe.
Auch wieder nicht komplett konform mit meiner Grundidee in den Lyrics. Trotzdem öffnet sich da wieder so eine ganz interessante neue Perspektive und ein anderer Blick auf das Thema. Und das finde ich sehr schön.
Da bist du ja endlich.
Mein Platz. Tür mach mal zu.
5 Uhr war einer uns.
Oh Gott. Jetzt über das Video reden?
Bist du hier rauf schon?
Ja.
Und auch mit dem Scheiß.
Ich habe uns beobachtet, als wir das erste Mal im ersten Durchlauf das mit der VR-Brille gesehen haben. Einfach die Bewegung des Kopfes nach oben, nach unten. Wirklich den Hang runter bei der Brücke zur Seite, mit dem Blick nach hinten, das ist schon ziemlich abgefahren.
So yeah, first thing is the story. And obviously what we just watched, the video, I mean not the making of, but the actual video is a pretty straightforward story, if you will. But if you think about it inside of VR, then obviously there are a couple of things you have to take into consideration, which would not be that important if you look at it as a normal movie, I guess. Because the viewer can watch you can watch at any position inside of this virtual world, and you don't know where he's looking at, he or she's looking at. So the way we did it for the VR version is a little bit, we planned it like a one-shot. So essentially you're following the heroes in this story, and that also means that for the next story beat you have to somehow make sure that this emerges beat after beat. So if you will, if you look at an edited movie, you can just edit, and then in the next shot you will see whatever new thing is happening. But if you're always there and you don't want to cut, because cuts are very jarring in VR, you have to make sure that still works. So the way we approached it is that basically you follow the protagonist through that world, and they kind of like walk around those mountains, and after always the next mountain you see the next thing happening. I guess that's the explanation for that. And for the content, I already said that you can divide VR content into, I guess, like this space where you have 360 live action video on the one side, and then a little bit more, you can do more things, I guess, with 360 degree CGI video. Then you have light fields, which is a very interesting technology. I don't really understand how it works, but essentially it's pre-rendered. It's a pre-rendered volume, like a voxel volume, I guess. So that means that you can not only look around, like rotate your camera, but you can also, in a certain degree, move laterally in this field. And this is, you can do that stuff, I guess, with Octane. Somehow, I don't really know how. And then on the very far end, you have interactive CGI. So that means that you have essentially like a game, technically. So it's a game engine, and inside of the game engine, you make your world, and that means that you can also interact with your world. You can potentially, take things on, stuff like that. And that's obviously the most interesting, or we feel the most interesting application of VR, because once you're inside of it, you want to be able to interact. Because if you look at any other medium on a screen, and whether that is like a laptop screen or a cell phone screen or a big screen, you're always outside of it. So you're outside of the story and you're observing a story. But once you put on the headset, you're inside of that story. So the obvious question is, who are you in that story? And what's your role in it? Are you just like a passive observer, like a ghost, without the ability to interact, which is the case in a lot of recent or actual current VR productions, or do you have the ability to influence the story somehow? That's obviously much more interesting. So if you look at it on a level from a movie towards a game, probably you're not gonna watch a normal movie with your VR headset for 2 hours. Why would you? You could just as well watch it on any other screen. And probably you're not gonna play a game like Tetris or something in VR. But the most interesting part, I guess, for us is in the middle. So the sweet spot is in the middle of this, space where you have something which is a little bit like an interactive movie, if you will. And I don't know whether there's anything like that out yet, but I think it shows a lot of potential. For example, Oculus Story Studios, they did that short called Henry, and that is a little bit like that. I mean, basically, you're just sitting in the middle of this tree, and I mean, if you haven't seen it, it's a story of a little hedgehog, and he has a birthday party. It's from ex-Pixar guys, so it's all very cute and Pixar-ish, and it's really, really well done. And it just won an Emmy 2 days ago, so I think there's a lot of potential for this type of medium. And in order to be able to interact with your environment, you need real-time engines. So obviously, there are a couple of real-time engines around. It doesn't really matter which one you use. The two, I guess, big ones are Unreal and Unity. That's why I put that slide. We looked at both of them quite thoroughly, and we decided for Unreal because we felt it has better graphics capabilities. And I mean, obviously, that's an unfair comparison. You can do your things with either of them. It doesn't matter. But Unreal has taken, especially in the last couple of versions, a lot of they made a lot of progress in optimizing VR content. So they did a lot of really, really smart kind of like technical things to make VR stuff run faster. And it's really a challenge to get that to run fast enough. If you look at the hardware, and this is actually from earlier this year, so the Vive is just released now, and the Oculus, those headsets are just now available. So the Vive has those controllers with which you can even interact. The Oculus doesn't have that. So when we started that project, there was no hardware to be able to interact with your environment, really. But the interesting part about that slide is this frame rate here below, and that's really high. Like I said initially, if you look at the frame rate of a game, you have 30 frames per second, so that means that your rendering time, remember when I said initially the rendering time for the, offline stuff in the showreel was 5 minutes to, probably 20 minutes. Now you have 33 milliseconds to render that same image, which is a lot shorter, so you need to optimize it. And then that's only a game. So if you look at VR, which has 75 and 90 frames per second, you have even only a third amount of that time. So that means you have to be really, really smart at optimizing your stuff to make it run in real time. And also, if you look at a game, if it doesn't run at 30 or 60 FPS, it's not a big deal. It stutters a little bit, and it doesn't matter. But if you look at it with the headset, it's very, very jarring, and it gives you this what they call motion sickness. That's the reason why people get sick inside of those headsets. So you really need to optimize your stuff. And so that means for asset generation in VR, you have to be very conscious about, obviously, doing a low poly count, having textures as small as possible, and all of that stuff, which is kind of like a big topic to explain thoroughly. But this is for us coming from a movie or animation in advertising background. This is something we had to learn, and this is something that will probably be very important going forward. And what is this? Plugins. Oh yeah. So this is a couple of plugins we used inside of Cinema, because unfortunately Cinema has for real-time stuff, some very crucial features are not implemented or kind of difficult to work with. So we have this vertex normal plugin that was really cool. That gives you a whole tool set to generate and edit vertex normals. Riptide we used to export all the stuff to Unreal. So that's actually one thing which works really nicely in Unity. So Unity implements Cinema 4D natively. So you have a plugin and you just you can import C4D files. But what it does internally, actually, that plugin is it converts them to FBX, and then it imports FBX. So it would be the same thing as exporting FBX, which we did also for the import in Unreal. But it turns out that the FBX exporter was a little bit finicky, a little bit difficult. We worked with the R17, and apparently in the new update, now it's R18 is out anyway, so it should be fixed, bottom line. And also, what I want to point you towards is there's a great export utility on Cineversity in the Cineversity toolbox. But also that like all of those options didn't really work for us, so we used Riptide, which is a third-party plugin to export several formats, OBJ, FBX, I don't know really, but OBJ. And so that was really nice. MorphMel also we used for certain things when we had actually, that was the case when we textured an asset, and then we wanted to change UVs, I guess that was the case, and then we imported it, and on import Cinema reordered the points of the OBJ, which it shouldn't do. But with MorphMel, we were able to fix it and didn't have to remodel everything. UV2 object is really cool too. So like I said, in order to save texture space, what you do a lot in game developing is something called a texture atlas. And what that is that you put several textures for several objects on the same image, and then you just have them read from the same image. And UV2 object is pretty cool because it allows you to edit multiple UV sets at once, right? So you can have several different objects, and you can edit all the UVs at one time. And NitroBake obviously is to bake, simulations or whatever have you. Like in the end of the video where the temple crashes, we use that to bake it before we exported it, because when we exported it without that, it didn't really work. Even if the FBX export option has also a baking option included, it kind of didn't work. And again, you might want to just retry it because that stuff should be fixed now. But as far as we can tell, it didn't work. So yeah, those plugins are really interesting to look at if you're interested in real-time asset creation inside of Cinema. All right. I'm just going to skip. Oh yeah, and this is a project we're working on currently. Initially I told you that for us the most important or the most interesting part of VR is this interacting with your world, but if you paid attention, you also noticed that in the Moderat piece you couldn't really do anything, but it was just a passive ride through the story. So we are working on a new piece called Gary and Claire, which is a little short film. And this runs on the Gear VR, so on your mobile phone. And this also means that we have to, reduce the style. So this is just a work in progress stuff. So this Gary, so he's a sloth, and he hangs out on the tree and chills out. And then, this is him sleeping. So this is just a previous stuff inside of Unreal Engine, as you see here. So we have to reduce the poly count significantly, and also the shaders need to be really simple. So this is the style is purposefully reduced. And what we might do, and this little the turquoise dot is Claire. So this is a little bird that wakes him up. That's her. And we might do something where we have more visually kind of like appealing, or if you will, kind of like a more full-on version, like with fur and everything and feathers, which runs on a gaming PC with the Oculus or the Vive, and then a more reduced version for the mobile space. But anyway, the interesting part about the project for us is the story aspect of it, because here what we're going to do, we're going to explore interaction between the viewer and the world. So this is not just going to be a video playing back, but depending on where you look, you can trigger certain actions and you can influence the story. So this for us is a bit of an R&D project, if you will. So we're not sure when it's going to be finished because we kind of squeeze it in between other projects. But yeah, hopefully soon. Okay, so this else we got? Right, so this was the VR part of the talk. So if you're not interested in anything else we do, you can leave. No, but please stay. I don't know, however, up to you. And I'm just going to show you another project we worked on for League of Legends, which is this computer game, I guess, one of the kind of like biggest gaming events. And they always do competitions. And they recently, I guess last week, did one in Krakow. And they approached us to do a trailer for that. And I'm going to show you the trailer.
Like smoke trails on a breeze, news of the beast drifted beyond the city walls. And the kingdom's bravest answered. Under rival banners, but united in their hunger for a worthy trial. Only one is destined to pass through the beast's fires unscorched. The rest shall be consumed. Who will endure?
Yeah, so as you can probably imagine, that was a fun one to work at. You know, dragons and fire and swords, everything your 15-year-old internal self loves. So that was really cool. And you know, the main piece about it was the dragon, and that was obviously a challenge, technically as well as design-wise, I guess. And what we did, obviously, we started with a couple of sketches. And but the thing is that, you know, we really wanted to have this dragon be kind of reduced and not look like your typical fantasy dragon. And it's up to you whether we, you know, succeeded in that or not. But we looked at mythology, and this guy being from Krakow, or from Poland, there's actually this myth about this dragon, and it's part of the city's mythology. And so this is a reinterpretation of this beast, and so this is a couple of initial sketches. And what we really liked is this structure of the dragon. How do you call that? I don't know, like that triangular pieces on his body, and that kind of made up the whole beast. So even the wings look like this. So here you can see the scale of it. So this is how big it is supposed to be. A couple more sketches of that, and this is how it's like a roof tiling. So everything, the whole thing is made up of those scales. And here's another sketch, and then this is a couple of initial models. And this is actually the final model rendered just as with a black texture, just for the client to sign off on it. And the technical challenge on that one was, obviously a couple ones, but the most challenging one was to find a way to lay out those scales in a way that works. And we did a couple of tests. This I forgot. Well, yeah, I forgot a couple of cool things I'm going to show tomorrow. So okay, tomorrow at 4 at the same time. So we have here. This is a dragon rig. It's quite heavy. So what we ended up doing is we did the layout of all the scales manually, and we did a couple of tests before that. So the challenge here obviously is that we wanted to be able to control the scales to have this kind of like shockwave go through the dragon where it kind of like moves its hairs. So they're all cloners. Like even in this final rig, it's all cloners, so we can affect them with effectors. And the challenge is the layout. So we have here, a little test, as I said. And obviously, if you look at the layout, you need less scales at the end and more scales at the beginning. So we thought about how to do that. You can do it basically with a geometry and scale on every vertex, and then have the vertex feather out in the end. But we also wanted at the feathers, in this area here. Well, it's kind of hard to see. This area here, we wanted to be able to manually lay out the scales so that it looks cool. So what we did is we actually manually laid them out, and then we wrote a script to take each position of those and convert it into a null, and then again use this to clone on them. So we had one artist do the layout, manually putting every scale, and then basically a script to convert it into something which we could rig. Right, this is a painted texture of the scale, so all of them look, it's instances, it's all the same, basic clones, all the same geometry, but we had different textures so that they don't all look the same. But also, as you could see, the dragon is always lit a bit rim-lit, so it's, it's not, you're never going to see like completely like with the flash photography, that maybe doesn't matter that much. So this is a couple of different textures for the scales. This is a head with the normal maps on it, and this is here a little animation of the dragon without the texture. Yeah. So those were the style frames we did for the pitch, and obviously this is how we work. I mean, I don't know if you know, we do a lot of pitches. That means the client approaches us, and they also ask a couple of other production companies whether they would want to work with them, and we try to convince the client that we're the best choice, obviously, and in order to do that, we do style frames, such as this one here, where we basically show them, well, this is a world we see, your spot to be in, and they hopefully they liked it. So yeah, we got to work with them, which was also kind of cool. It's an unusual experience for us. Usually we work with advertising agencies, and Riot, who is the developer of League of Legends, so they're a huge company. They have in Berlin, where we are also, they have a whole studio set up where they do the like tournaments, and it's like a TV show. It's crazy. They produce all that stuff for the YouTube channel. It's like one of the biggest, I guess, games out there. So yeah, that was really interesting to work with them. So the dragon again, a couple more style frames, and then here you see the teams. This is like one of the team logos of the of League of Legends, and this is this esports world is kind of cool too. Like they win, like I think the main winner of this tournament got, I don't know, €1 million or something crazy like that. So it's really, and they have sponsors and everything. It's really like sports, like football or soccer essentially. They have teams, and that's full-time. They just do this esports stuff. So pretty cool. So yeah, initially we thought of a shot where you just see the dragon feet stomp through lava, but that didn't happen in the end because we changed the design so that it doesn't have feet anymore, so obviously we couldn't do that shot. And this is a crest, where you have the trophy in it. And yeah, the trophy, environment, okay, let's talk about the environment. Yeah, the trophy is something they had, so it's like this, looks like a trophy. I don't know. Environment, so yeah, this is kind of interesting. So because the story is placed in Krakow, there is an actual Wawel castle. So this is an actual castle where that dragon is supposedly lived, like back in the days, in the Middle Ages or whatever. And we actually used the actual, castle. That was kind of cool. I liked that. So this is here. Let's see. So this is the actual. Oh yeah, I have to delete this. Delete this very quick. Yeah, this is the actual castle here, and I got this model of OpenStreetMaps. This is like a Google Maps type thing, but you can actually download 3D data. And it's kind of cool because I could really tell. I got a photo from the Wawel Castle, and I thought, well, where was this photo taken? And it's taken on a bridge here's the bridge. I'm just going to delete this here real quick. So this is the remnants anyway of the bridge. I kind of deleted a lot of stuff from the scene I didn't use. And the photographer was actually where this camera here is on that bridge. So this is replicating the shot I really had. So it's funny because if you wanted, you could go there like with a drone and do the exact same shot. So for prevising live action stuff, this is amazing. And then we have this moon here, which is a crescent moon. And for that was also funny. Where I found this thing here called moon calc, which gives you the shape of the moon at a specific place and time. So you can actually put your little marker here on this bridge. So this is here the Wawel Castle. Yeah, this is the castle, what we're talking about. And this is the position of our camera. And then I entered the date of the event. And here you can slide around the time of day. And this is here how your moon will actually look like. And we use this shape for the moon. So this is kind of like just a silly little thing. We could have just used any other shape, but I thought it's pretty funny. So actually for, I don't know, planning live action shots or having a bit of authenticity in your works, which I always think, you feel it, hopefully. I just like that a lot. All right. So, all right. So here, this is the matte painting of the full moon. We started with a full moon and then changed to a crescent moon, like I described to you. A couple of matte painting shots, color variations. And, what was this? I don't even know. Oh, this is probably a video. Let's see what that is. Oh yeah, that's cool. So this is just a little time-lapse thing of the matte painting. It's a little slow. This is a lot of clouds in our matte painting. Yay. Right. I have the previs. I mean, I guess you guys know what the previs is. I'm just going to show it quickly in order to, make sure that you don't render shit twice. You previs it so that you have an idea to tell your client what they're going to look at eventually, to fine-tune the camera moves and everything. So the challenge on that one was that we did the previs with with also a previs dragon rig, so that we didn't have the final thing yet, so it doesn't look 100% the same because we had to change the animation a little bit. This is something that honestly should not happen, but I guess in this case it was not that bad because we have this rotating move around the dragon, so essentially the dragon is the landscape, so it's very tricky to previs that without the final model. So usually what you want to do, like if you look at maybe like a TV show or bigger movie, obviously you build your assets and then you can do previs with your final assets. But here also, I mean, timing-wise, it was not that much time, so we kind of had to work parallel to things. And this is just a couple of images from the assets we used. We used a Substance Painter, which is a really, really nice tool to do really nice textures really, really fast. And I guess it's also in R18. It can also open Substance Designer files, I guess, right? And this is a trophy, right? All right, so that was that. And I guess I'm just gonna, because it's already a little late, I'm just gonna end it here. And then but I have another project which I will then show tomorrow. All right, so that was it. Thank you. And I guess if you have questions, you can ask questions. But you don't need to. All right, cool. Thank you. Oh, you have one. That's it. Yeah, open street maps. Yeah. Yeah, sure. All right. Oh yeah, and if the links for the plugins and everything are on that address, if you're interested. All right. That's it.